Hello viewers, now futures trading, one of the fastest growing areas in retail trading. Lots of brokers out there, but you've probably come across NinjaTrader, one of the biggest, millions of customers out there, and they've got a lot of functionality that you can play around with. And one of the better features on their desktop is the automation and backtesting technology that they've got there. So that got me thinking, could I turn a Renko strategy into a fully automated, executed strategy, backtest it all on the NinjaTrader Desktop? Well, in this video, I'm going to show you how you can get started in that space using Renko with NinjaTrader and the desktop version, automating your trading and producing crucial backtest evidence for you. So, lots to get through. Let's get into it. So this is our end result that we're looking to achieve. On the left, we got our Renko chart with our indicators. We got the live signals going on through, and then on the right hand side, we got the strategy analyzer where we can do our backtest, set the parameters for the backtest as well. And then at the top, we got the very important toolbar that shows us, how we connect our strategies, get them all going live, and how we can monitor them in real time. So that's how it looks when it's all done. It is a complex thing to get going with and start with, and there's a lot of little nuances that you must get right to make sure your strategy works properly. Otherwise it can get costly, but I'm hopefully going to show you a lot of that stuff in this video now. So why don't we just get into starting the build. Now I'm going to keep this strategy really simple, and the point of this whole video is to give you the insight on how to set this up yourself. The results, that come out from this, probably a load of rubbish, probably not very good, probably need optimizing, and that's all part of the skill set of, once you've built it, then you've got to work on it to make it, make and develop your edge. So this video is about getting you to that point, which is quite complex for say someone new to the platform to get to be able to then start optimizing and refining the strategy. So where do we actually start? We're going to start with the strategy setup and rules. I'm going to do this strategy on the S&P 500. The ES is the ticker there. Brick size of 4. Indicators, I'm just going to use a stochastic 1253 and the moving average of 200. And what are the rules for a long trade? I just want the stochastic K to be crossing this stochastic D lines there, and then also need another trend filter that I'll put in. 200 moving average price has got to be greater than the 200 moving average, and we get out when the reverse flip happens on the stochastic cross. Percentage K is less than percentage D, or the other criteria is we're going to put in that if we hit our predefined risk return of 1.5 to 1, and it's exactly the opposite for a short trade. And the stop loss, we're going in at 24 ticks, so that's about 6 points, and the target 36 ticks, which is about 9 points. That's it. I'm just keeping it simple. They're fixed variables, like I said. Obviously, it's for the purposes of this video. You can create and get as technical and flash and as tricky with this setup as you like, but the idea, like I said, is just to get you familiar with how you get a working fully automated strategy and backtest up and running. Right, so where do we start? Well, we need to go up into our toolbar up the top. We go to new, we go down right to the bottom. Strategy builder is what we want. We wait till that loads up, and it has done. And let's just quickly talk through what we're seeing here. It's basically a I suppose they call it a wizard, a step-by-step through process. Notice down here on the left hand side, that's basically the format you're following. So we just start default properties and move to additional data, inputs and variables, conditions and actions, stops and targets, and then finish. And literally down the bottom you can see the next button. We're just clicking through each one of those until we come to the end, and we've constructed our strategy. So stage 1, we're in general. It's just about naming, really. I'm going to call mine test. If you want to, you can put a description in there, might be helpful if you're coming back to it at a later stage. We've got similar running strategies, always helpful to differentiate, but don't need it for this example, so I'm going to call it test. Then you go on to next, which is the default properties. So I'm going to calculate it on price change. You've got some other options there, but on price change it's going to work for me there. Then more properties. These little sub boxes, that's the nuances I mentioned, quite important to make sure you've got them filled out right. Entries per direction, you know, what that means there is I only want one trade in one signal, because you might still have, you know, the trend direction working for you and you get multiple signals in a row. I don't want to pile up lots of trades all in the same direction, so it's just saying just do one trade for me. Anything else comes along, it will cancel it, and you'll probably hear a voice saying trade cancelled once you go live, so you know that that's working. So I'm only wanting one trade. What else do I need here? I've got that box ticked, exit on session close. Don't want any trades running over you know, when the market is closed there. What else? Length 256, probably bars look back's probably sufficient here. Minimum bars 20, that gets us started on our strategy. You can start when you get more complex, factor in things like slippage. Now start behavior, I want to start when everything's flat. I don't want to confuse the system, and we'll look at syncing, which is an important factor later in the video, but I want to wait until flat to be synchronized. And then I got here by strategy position, stops and targets, and then time in force good till cancelled. Trace orders we're going to ignore. So that's our default properties set up. So that's step 2 complete, and then we're going to move on to additional data. So this is where we select our instrument to our test. We are just going to use the S&P 500, the DEC 25 contract. And how would you add contracts to your thing? It's quite simple. You just hit the add button there, select the instrument you want to add in to your test, and put them together there. We're keeping it simple. You know, just the one market here. You want to remove it, you know, or edit it, you got the buttons there. Custom series drop down, do we need anything there? Absolutely not at the moment for this test. And then we move on to input variables. So this is the important part for the strategy stochastic. Now why am I doing this? Well, instead of just clicking on a stochastic later in the setup when you're doing conditions and actions, what I'm doing here is I'm creating inputs that I can change. So I'm creating the K, the D and the smooth with default variables, but at a later stage when I come to like the backtest, I can change those numbers and then you know, play around with different settings in my backtest. So it's just a bit of a, I think, a time saver here, creating a more robust strategy by putting that in. So like I said, I've created the K, the D and the smooth. How do you do that? Well, you just do the add button there. It's an integer, so we do the int, we give it a name, so like the K default, the inputs for, you know, the settings. So the percentage K, we wanted a 12, so we would just put the 12 in there. Again, you can fill out a description if you want to. I've done percentage K period in my one, and minimum keep to 1. And if you want to edit the inputs there, you just hit the edit button. Now I'm going to get an error message here, and that's because I've actually got the strategy running, so you can't change inputs while it's running, so you're going to have to turn off this strategy to be able to access that. But just to go over that again, it's just like add, you would type in the name. So like if we were doing the K, it's just the K, the int, add the default, the 12, and the description. Very important to get the description in, by the way, because we will be using this as a variable in later boxes. So once you've done that, you hit OK, and then it would be added to the inputs and variables. We don't need any variables here, so we can happily move on to the next section, which is conditions and actions. Now this is the exciting part of the play, and you can see we've got these different tabs down the bottom. Now when I first did this caught me out. It might you as well. So we've got to create basically the entries and the exits here as separate screens. Now you might start off just adding all the conditions in one box. That's not going to work. So as you can see here, I've added this one, cross above stochastic close, and basically it's the K and the D, the percentage K moving above the D, basically then warning the system that it's time to go, time to get ready. But we've also got this 200 moving average as well, saying the price has to be greater than that. And then if those all marry up, it says then do the following: enter long default quantity at long entry. So how do we do that? When you can come back and change these conditions and actions at any time. So you just go to add, and then you would find your indicator. So we would go down to the stochastic, which we would do there. And then the important part here is getting the right inputs. Now remember, we've used inputs, not just these number parameters. And this caught me out first time I tried it. When you scroll down to the parameters section, you get the numbers in here rather than the letters. You've got to set them to our inputs, and typing just in the box won't work. You've got to go to set and then click on the input that you wanted in the relevant box. The other thing we've got to do is set the value plot to percentage K, which is there. So imagine this conditions box on the left hand side is one set of parameters, on the right hand side is another set of parameters, and in the middle it's the action telling us what we want to do. So we're saying the percentage K on the left hand side stochastic, crosses above. Now I've put a look back period of 1 to take out any look ahead bias in there as well. And then we just do the other condition on the other side, which is basically our percentage D. So stochastic again, cross down, and it's a bit boring, but you've got to put in the inputs again, and then we've got the percentage D there done. And once you've done that, you hit OK, and that's that parameter. But remember, we also wanted the 200 moving average in there as well, and that one, because it wasn't an input, it's quite easy. You would just do add, and we're going to say price. The closing price is greater than the indicator that we'd want, which is we're going to use a simple moving average, the SMA there, going down to there, type the 200, hit OK, and then that will add into the conditions. But what we need is the actions, which is the bottom box here, and we need to basically tell it what to do. Let's just have a quick look at that. Well, I've told it here, if those conditions are met, go long. And if we just click on the edit button here, so what we want to do, we're clicking on these different actions boxes. These are all pre-formatted, so we want to say enter long, and the miscellaneous, there you see plenty of options to pick from, which you're going to set as well. We want a default quantity and in there, and then I've given it a signal name. Again, you can set it. Important to get this all right and consistent, by the way, so you can call it what you like. I've called it long entry to show you there, and you just hit set and it will put the @ sign in front of it, at long entry, and that's our quantity in there as well. Let's just have a quick look. you can see how you can pick those options there, the values, the user inputs, all in there for you to play around. So there's a lot you can actually modify around in here to, you know, make it as unique a strategy as you like. I didn't actually tell you where to get default quality, did I? So go back to set, strategy, default order, quantity. So it's a case of exploring around and finding the boxes and buttons that you want to add in bells and whistles into your strategy. Once we've done that, it's okay. So basically we've got our long entry in there. So but then we have to hit the plus button at the bottom because we want the short, if you want to go short, that is, we add the short conditions as well, and that's exactly the opposite way round to what we've just done. And I'm not going to go through all that because it'll make this video really long. Then we need to tell it you can actually see the do the following there, but we then need to tell it how we're going to get out. And it's on this strategy, it was just a cross back over in the opposite direction. And you can see there it says exit long, default quantity, exit long entry. Let's just have a look at that. So you get, you know, an extra box in this one for the exit, because once you go up here, you go to the order management, you're going to say exit long. So remember, you've got to do this for the exit short as well. So when you do that, hit that exit long, it's going to give you this drop down options. You're going to go through all those parameters again as well. So but remember, key there is we want that long entry, and that's what we set as a condition, didn't we, just a moment ago. And we want it to get rid of the same quantity of the trade, and we're going to give that its own name as well, which we set by just hitting that button, going up there, calling it what we want. Make sure you're consistent with it and remember what it is, and then we're okay to go. And so basically we've got our rule set of the cross in the opposite direction and telling it what to do. And obviously that's for the long trade. We've got to do the same for the short trade, and that's all put into there. So that's all very good. So we're getting down our list now. Now it's on to stops and targets. So I just wanted to create a simple stop loss of 24 ticks, which is about 6 blocks because there's 4 ticks in 1 point move there, and I made that a 1.5 to 1 ratio, and you can again just add that. It's again click and play type stuff. There's stops and targets, different ways of doing it. Mine was just a simple stop loss. You can even set the parameters. You know, you might want to do it in dollar value, so you click currency, and I've set my profit as well, same way. And then that's all very good. So basically we've created our new strategy, and then all we have to do is hit the finish button down the bottom, and we've got our strategy all saved away. It will go away, compile it and save it. Now we need to make the strategy look good so we can see it in the charts, and we also need to run a back test so we don't get too excited about, you know, whether we're going to make a massively winning strategy with an edge. We want to see some numbers first for a back test. So next stage, get the chart built and get the back test up and running. So a good trader is going to worry about the back test first before going live. So we're going to focus in on this area called strategy analyzer. Now where do you find that? Well, in the new toolbar drop down, strategy analyzer, click on that. As you can see, I've already got it set up here, but we'll click on it again just to bring it up for our demonstration's sake. So you can see it's exactly the same. So we want the strategy analyzer button, and then the important part is this back, the general here, and we're going to do a back test You can see you've got different options. It's very comprehensive, actually, really. The desktop backtesting kit here. But we're going to put our strategy in there. You can see other strategies have been created. We want the test. We got our parameters there. Remember, we can change them if we want, but we're going to run it with the original version, 12.5.3. We pick our instrument. It's based on the last price. We got the Renko. Make sure you pick Renko. Brick size is in there. Now I've just selected 6 months of data. I'll pick that. Remember the feed, price feed. You could use default if you wanted, but I'm going to use regular trading hours there for the CME feed for the S&P. Like I said, you could play around. You could turn it to electronic trading if you want. I want regular trading hours just for this experiment. Then other variables, no break at the end of the day there. Again, if you want to start adding in slippage commissions, you can do around here, but we're just going to keep the standard setup. Bars required, 20-30 is probably sufficient to kick off the strategy, because remember, it's got to make the stochastic cross and all those input variables. 256 bars, again, probably sufficient. Let's just widen that out a bit so you can see the things. Bar look back. What else have we got here? Nothing really needing the historical field processing. Order handling, we want one trade per direction. We want to switch that to unique entries, not all entries. And we are going to get out on the session close. The set order quantity, remember that's default, which is 1, which was our default. And we're going to give the time force good till cancelled. You hit run, and I can tell you what came up was what you can see here. It can take a few minutes to do that. And that parameter setup that we've just run through, if we go through the results, made $250,000 over the period trading that one lot. It did trade a lot of times, 14,595 times, which would have been humanly impossible to do over that period. So you could start to see the benefit of running your strategy. Whether these numbers are any good or not, please do remember it's just for the demonstration's sake. I've not gone in and refined anything or made this look like a fantastic strategy or not. I'm not worrying about that. It's just to show you how you get a back test done. It's up for you to refine it and optimize it further, but just going to run you through some key numbers. We got a profit factor which is positive, 1.27 is good. Sharp ratio 0.4, not fantastic. I would want to optimize that more towards 1.5, 2. So there's already some work to do there, but it's only a short back test. Was it the right time period to back test it over? Only wins 35% of the time, this strategy, so not that great, but we've probably got a good risk reward ratio going on here. We can tell that by the winning trade $228, the average losing 125, giving us that 1.82 to 1 risk reward. So that's all very good. And we've got the average trade size of $17. Got 15 winners in a row, 16 losers in a row. Again, that's very important. Can you wear that drawdown of 16 losers in a row? Largest winners trade to the losing trade. Remember, I set that 1.5 to 1 risk reward ratio, so we can see that working there as well. And then the average trades per day, 106. That's a lot of trades. Profit per month. All the variables that you need to know, and also it's got some other great analysis and optimization stuff you can run. You can get, for example, drawdown. You can see max drawdown there, $5,000 nearly. Can do a cumulative net profit. Obviously that looks nice. Whether that's right or not, I don't know, but it looks a bit too good to be true, and it is only over 6 months. So the S&P could have been going for a good period where it was just cleaning up. So again, skill of backtesting, it comes down, or the success of backtesting comes down to the quality of the analyst doing the analysing. we've got other things. Monte Carlo, we can play around with setting. Well, you can see the settings, see the orders. It's going to take a long time. I shouldn't have clicked on that one. Again, you can change it by dollar amount, percent, points, pips, ticks. There's a lot to play with here, but let's just, for argument's sake, that we're really happy with this strategy. How do we next take it on to actually going live and getting it on our chart so we can see it working in action? Now, this next bit I'm going to say is a very, very important, and I've seen people go bust just doing this. They've put together a strategy, they run a back test, they see some numbers that look good, and I think, yes, I'm now the next Gordon Gecko coming up, you know, the next Steve Cohen. No, you're not. That's one of the big traps you will fall into by going straight live with your backtest results. There is a sim account set up for you in the NinjaTrader Desktop. Use it. That is my advice. Use it for a period of time until you are totally happy with the results, the way the trades are executing, because I can tell you, if you go straight live, it could get very, very messy. There's still a lot of nuances, a lot of little tips and tricks you have to run to get this working correctly. So you heard it here. Please do not go straight live until you've thoroughly tested out the actual execution part of the strategy. It's no good just having the fancy looking back test. Please do your testing, your due diligence thoroughly. Don't rush into it. Don't get too excited. You got plenty of time to run your strategy and make some money out of it. So do it properly to start with. So next we need to create our Renko chart. You can see the finished item there on the left hand side. I've added on the indicators to just make the strategy look more complete. But if you want to set up a Renko chart, you just go up to new chart, find the market that you're interested in, and we want the S&P contract there, the ES mini, and then we fill out these variables. Remember, we're using a block size of 4. We'd want the Renko set up there, clicked on. Again, instrument trading hours, an important one to check. You can use the instrument settings, but I like to use the actual CME feeds, and you've got a couple of choices here for the S&P 500. You've got US index futures, ETH or RTH, that's electronic trading hours, and regular trading hours. So if you wanted the strategy, or the chart just to, as we're building here, just to show the US open to US close, you do regular. If you want it to be looking at almost 24/5, then you would maybe use ETH there as your choice. So you can set what you want, or you can just leave it to the standard use instrument settings. Then if you want to get fancy with the colors, all that lot, it's all on there. And then you would hit OK. You'd get your Renko chart. Like I say, if you want to add indicators, again, very straightforward. You just go up to the indicators tab there, find the ones you want to add, make them as colorful as you want, and then you basically got your chart. But now we need to add the strategy to the chart. How do we do that? Well, we right click in the chart, you go down to strategies, and then you can see our one that we want. We click on test, we would double click that. Let's just remove that one that we don't need. So we got that there, and this is another important, crucial bit to get right. So let's open that out a bit. So we've got our parameters for our stochastic 1253. We've got the input series. Remember, that's the 4 block Renko there. We're running it on sim account. You can pick your other accounts if you wanted to. You want to go live, you could click your live one. I'm going to click on sim. We're running this in test at the moment. Like I said, make sure it's right before you go, and then go live. And then bars look back, 256 enough, 20 to get the thing going. You could put 30. Remember the system has to calculate the stochastics, that sort of, you know, the indicators and everything, so it needs something to get it started. I always wait until flat and synchronize account. That's very important, because if you're unsynchronized, the strategy and the chart can be out of kilter and you won't get the results you want. And I'm going to show you an important check in a moment on that one. Historical fill processing, nothing to worry about there. Order handling, we only want one entry per direction. I've explained it already, but we don't want multiple signals stacking up, because you can get indicators pinging you signals all in the same direction all in a row. We don't want to say have 5, 6, 7 long trades on all at once. We just want the one, so we've got one set there. Entry handling, we want that set to unique entries, and then exit on session closed is tick, because we want to get out at the end of the day. The stop and targets by strategy position. The set order quantity, well, that's our default quantity, which was 1, and we leave time in force. That's good to cancel. We hit apply, and that would then be added to that strategy, which you would then, if you go up to the top and go to strategies, see your strategy test. It's on that instrument. You can see the data, all the inputs there, and they're going to get one position there. And what we'd have to do to make that go live, i.e. live in our simulation account, you can see I'm using sim 101 there. We do that, we click enable. So then what that's going to do is then put all the data onto the chart, all the historical trades that we could have run, and then it's going to run a trade. So we are basically now live in the system. So we can see if we've got any other positions on. We haven't, so we're good to go there. This was the bit I was telling you about as well. If that is not true, there's something wrong with your strategy. You want that true. It means that the strategy, the price data, the rules are all synced up. And what could often be the problem is you've got another trade running in the background. That's why I wanted it only to run while we set it to flat. No positions on, only take one when it's flat, because that's another way of helping you get around the problem. But if you see it false, just go down to your positions, because you might have something in there, and you can right click on it and close the positions and then restart your strategy. But at the moment we haven't got anything going on. We've joined in while the signal was in place, so we haven't got a live trade going on yet from our setup. Another issue with the sync, if it says false, is you might have another ES strategy on the same account, or you manually flattened a strategy position. You run one instance per account per instrument, or give instances unique labels and don't trade manually on the same instrument. So some important watch outs there for that sync false. If you start trading manually around your automated strategy as well, you're going to get into problems as well. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So we can see the toolbar, very important for monitoring what's going on. You're going to see the unrealized and realized P&Ls. Again, you can look at the positions, the accounts, what's going on, executions, orders. It's all in there. And basically what we've done is put together quite quickly, really, being that it's quite a complex beast, the old desktop version here, but it's complex for a reason, because there's a lot of data and information you can get out of here. We've created your first NinjaTrader Desktop Renko strategy. Again, like I said, the caveat in there is please don't hold me to the results. The strategy, that was just to show you how you can get this thing up and running and working. But you're now good to go, good to experiment yourself and build your own Renko trading strategies. So there you go. Hopefully you found this a useful video, but please do remember, it's not a video about coming up with an optimal Renko strategy. I've shown you how you can automate Renko. I've shown you how you can get a backtest out of Renko. I've shown you how you can get all your trades flowing automatically through your NinjaTrader account, all part of that one strategy. It's a guide to get you going. It's now for you to take it further, get into all those little nooks and crannies, the nuances, and make it your own. Do your own homework, due diligence, and hopefully this video has got you off on the right path. Now, I myself, prefer Python, and just want to let you know that we've got a new course coming out very soon, Python for Trading. I like it because Python gives you more control. You can patch into different brokers, different markets. The code, how it works. You can pull it to pieces. It might sound complex, but I can tell you, you can teach yourself very easily, and that's what that course is all about. From someone who's got no experience all the way through to experts, this course has got something for everyone, because we then focus in, after going through the basics of how to learn Python, we go into the trading side, how you do technical analysis, automate trades, back tests, stress tests, build your own trading systems. It's all in there. And then the third part, which I was excited about, is all about machine learning and the future of trading. So check that out on my website, www.TheStopHunter.co.uk. I've got a special offer for you, for a pre-launch offer. Grab it now. It's £119, saving £80 on the full price when it goes live, and you also get a ebook, one of those two, sitting over my shoulder there on top of that special offer. So check that out, and it's only for the first few buyers of the course. So like I said, check the details out on the website, and hit those buttons and get yourself going on that course. So moving back to where we were, I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, please give us the thumbs up, all helps the channel. Don't forget to hit the subscribe and notification buttons. Plenty more content coming your way around automation and trading, NinjaTrader, Python, Renko. It's all on the channel for you to get your teeth into. So thanks for watching, and I hope to see you soon again.